Hi, it's Panda Movies here. Today, I'm going to explain the movie in time. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. Enjoy the video. The movie in time, which came out in 2011, is actually set in the future, year 2169. As expected, technology has advanced and even people are genetically engineered to stop aging on their 25th birthday. A one-year countdown on their forearm appears. Since people technically cannot die of old age, their clock becomes their lifeline, so when the time runs out, the person dies instantly. The time in their clocks have also become the universal currency which can be transferred directly from person to person or can be stored in time capsules that work like a wallet. However, despite the technological advancements in this time, there are still divisions among social classes divided into time zones, the poorest being Dayton, with its citizens barely having enough time to last for 24 hours on their clocks, while the luxurious area of New Greenwich with its people having more than enough time to be essentially immortal. The movie revolves around Will Salas, a 28-year-old factory worker who lives in Dayton with his 50-year-old mother, Rachel. Like all the other citizens in Dayton, Will and his mother were not exactly rich, they were also struggling, but they always managed to earn enough to live for the day. The scene opens with Will being woken up by his mother, so they can both set off to work. Will gives his mother a dance as she celebrates her 50th birthday, and promises her that they will celebrate as soon as she's back from work. The mother and son part ways and goes to their respective jobs. Will proceeds to the factory and on his way sees one of his co-workers found dead with his clock timed out. Frustrated, he and his best friend Boral go ahead to get coffee, but get even more upset to find out that there has been another price increase. Defeated, Will goes about his day making time capsules and logs off to go spend time with Boral and his work friends at a pub. Their local pub seemed to have been more hyped than usual because of a wealthy guest that had been buying drinks for everyone and was not afraid to show off his century-worth clock. Will goes to warn the man to keep his clock hidden since there are people who might want to steal his time from him. The man, whose name is later on revealed to be Henry Hamilton, just smiles at Will and continues to spend away his life. After a while, the Minutemen, led by the 75-year-old Fortis arrive, and Will rescues Henry from that group of time-robbing thugs. The pair hide away in a secret location and fall into a deep conversation. Henry admits that he is tired of living after doing so for centuries, and with another 116 years on his clock. He reveals to Will that the people in New Greenwich, where he is originally from, hoard most of the time, that is why people living in areas like Dayton die of poverty, due to constantly increasing time. The next morning, Henry wakes up before Will and transfers the rest of his time on his clock and leaves 5 minutes on his. After a short while, Will wakes up with over a century in his clock and Henry nowhere to be seen. Will hurriedly looks for Henry and immediately sees him on the bridge and runs after him to stop him from falling off the bridge. Just as Will arrives to save Henry, his time goes out and he falls off the bridge. Raymond Leon, the 75-year-old leader of a unit of police like timekeepers, sees what had happened through one of the CCTVs and erroneously assumes Will robbed and killed Henry. Still in shock at the amount of time he had been given, Will goes straight to his best friend Boral. His best friend warns him about having that much time in Dayton. Before he leaves, he gives Boral 10 years, one for each year of their friendship, before going to meet his mother to leave for New Greenwich together. Will grabs flowers for his mother and waits for her at the bus stop. His mother had just paid a 2-day loan and rode the bus home, but to her surprise, the fare had increased from 1 to 2 hours, and having used all 90 minutes of her time to pay, she fell short. She pleads to the bus driver if she could pay when they arrived at their destination, since her son was meeting her and he can pay for the remaining dues, but the uncaring driver forces her to get off the bus and run to Dayton instead. Leaving her without any choice, she runs back to Dayton. The bus arrives at the station where Will was waiting, and when he realizes that his mom does not get off the bus, he runs to meet her halfway. Will and his mother were both running fast and smiling as soon as they saw each other, but sadly, they were a few seconds too late, and Rachel collapses in her son's arms as her time runs out. Heartbroken and angry, the grieving Will vows to find justice for her mother's death. He moves to New Greenwich to start exacting his revenge. In New Greenwich, Will goes all out and checks himself in a suite, orders so much food and handsomely tips the waitress. He also goes to the casino, where he meets the 110-year-old businessman, Felipe Weiss, who was accompanied by his daughter, the 27-year-old Sylvia. Will gambles with Felipe, going all out and betting essentially all of his time, and eventually wins over a millennium in a flawless gamble. Sylvia invites him over to a party at their house, so Will goes to buy a new suit and a new car, driving himself to the party. Will enjoys himself in the party, and especially in the company of Sylvia, when Raymond arrives and arrests him, insisting that he had killed Henry Hamilton. Rather than attempting to prove Will's guilt, he simply confiscates all but 2 hours of Will's time, explaining it does not belong in Dayton. Will escapes and takes Sylvia to Dayton as a hostage. Unfortunately, Fortis's gang ambushes them and takes most of their time, leaving them with only 30 minutes each. Without anywhere else to go, Will goes to his best friend Boral to attempt to ask for some time when Boral's wife reveals that he has drunk himself to death. Desperate to get some more time, they sell Sylvia's earrings and manage to get a day each. Will calls Weiss and demands that he must pay a ransom of 1,000 years to the time mission for the desperate, but Weiss immediately refuses. Will releases Sylvia anyway. Raymond finds Will, but Sylvia shoots him in the arm. Will gives Raymond enough time to survive long enough for his squad to find him and steals his car. Realizing her father's greed, Sylvia helps Will end the system that is essentially run by her father and the people of New Greenwich. The pair decide to rob Weiss's time banks, giving the time capsules to the needy. However, their efforts seem to not have changed anything, since the more time they give away, the higher the increase of prices to compensate for the extra time. Upon knowing of Will and Sylvia's efforts, Fortis and his gang go after them once more, hoping to rob more time from them. The gang manage to ambush the pair, but Will manages to defeat Fortis in an arm wrestling match, then he shoots his thugs. After finally breaking free of the gang's grasp, the pair decide to continue their mission. They decide to rob Weiss's bank of a 1 million year capsule. Raymond manages to chase them back to Dayton, but fails to stop them from distributing the stolen time. Having neglected to download his day's salary, Raymond times out. Will and Sylvia nearly time out themselves, but survive by taking Raymond's salary. TV reports show factories in Dayton shutting down as everyone abandons their jobs, having enough time already. Raymond's colleague, Yeager, sees the consequences of Raymond's obsession with Will and Sylvia and orders the rest of the timekeepers to return home. Will and Sylvia progress to larger banks, still trying to crash the system. This movie tackled so many issues that are currently faced by so many people around the world. Ending a faulty and unjust system. Check. Living your life to the fullest and making every last second count. Check. However, what the movie managed to do was creatively explain the concept of time. It shows how the value of time is often overlooked. Most of us do not really see its value, thinking that we still have more of it. With the movie's concept of having time as the primary currency, it makes people wish for more of it and try not to waste it, because once it has been spent, it can never be taken back.